Shalom. If you want to review and see more content, like, comment, subscribe. Children of the Promise. We'll get you together. Shalom.
2 Corinthians 10 and verse 3.
2 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 3. For though we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh.
So we not warring after the flesh, go ahead. Meaning this is not a physical battle.
For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds.
So these other doctrines that we hear are also known as strongholds, stumbling blocks. That's what these other doctrine is. So when you don't know how to defend your doctrine, these other doctrines that you hear become strongholds. They become stumbling blocks. They cause confusion. So what you got to do, verse 5.
Casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalted itself against the knowledge of God.
So casting down imagination, that word for imagination also means arguments. Casting down arguments and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God. Go ahead.
And bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Christ.
So this is, you get to a certain point to where you have to start casting these doctrines down. You have to be well versed and studied to where you know how to cast down these imaginations that goes against the knowledge of God. What do that mean, the knowledge of God? That goes against the word. Doctrines that goes against the word. Because it's so many, and this is just Israelite doctrine that we're talking about right now. It's easy to cast down these other religions, Christianity, Islam, all that stuff. It's easy to cast those down. But when it comes to these Israelite doctrine, y'all gotta know how to cast them down too. Because why? You gonna hear them via social media, via brothers and sisters that you meet, via brothers and sisters that comes to the congregation. You're going to hear them. So you have to know how to cast them down. Go to Titus chapter 1. So let's get the title. So the title of today's class is, this is the Casting Down Imagination series. So this is a series of classes that we're going to do where it's about casting down imaginations. So this is Casting Down Imagination series, the false doctrine of the Lunar Sabbath. So this is the Casting Down Imagination series, the false doctrine of the Lunar Sabbath. Let's get some more. Go to Titus 1. Titus chapter 1, verse 10.
Titus chapter 1 and verse 10. For there are many unruly and vain talkers and deceivers, especially they of the circumcision.
So it said it's going to be a lot of vain talkers, especially they of the circumcision, meaning they of the Israelites. There's going to be a lot of vain talkers and deceivers that are what? Israelites. That we go think is our, that we go, I ain't gonna say think that's our brother or sister, but that think that just because somebody know that they're Israelites and they say they're keeping the commandments, don't mean we on one accord. Don't mean you on one accord. Because it's going to be a lot of vain talkers and deceivers, especially they of the circumcision. Verse 11.
Verse 11. Whose mouths must be stopped.
It say their mouths must be stopped. Whose mouths must be stopped. That's why it's imperative to do what? cast down these imaginations. That's the only way their mouths will be stopped. Go ahead.
Who subvert whole houses, teaching things which they ought
They
not,
say they teach things that they're not supposed to be teaching. Go ahead.
for filthy lucre's sake.
For trying to get a gain. Trying to get gain. So that's what this class is going to be about today, is casting down the imagination of the Lunar Sabbath. So now let's jump into what is the Lunar Sabbath first. They believe that the Lunar Sabbath means that they believe that the day, the Sabbath, is changed every month. So when was the last new moon? Sunday? So the last new moon was Sunday, right? So they would say, well, from that Sunday on, every Sunday is the Sabbath. So look at this calendar. So you see they got this right here. New moon is day 1. That's the first, that's the new moon. That's the first day of the month. They go 7 days after that is the next Sabbath. So that means every month their Sabbath is on the 8th, the 15th, the 22nd, and the 29th of every month. Meaning those dates, every new moon, those are the dates of their Sabbath every month. So that means what? The Sabbath is not going to be every 7 days. It's not a weekly cycle. It's because the new moon is 30 days. I mean, the month is 30 days. The week is 7 days. So that means that Saturday would have been last month's Sabbath or last week's Sabbath, right? The new moon was Sunday. So that means the next Sabbath will be tomorrow. Meaning we wouldn't even be here right now having class, because we will be here tomorrow having class, because tomorrow will be the Sabbath. According to the Lunar Sabbath. It changes every month. That means the Sabbath can be Tuesdays, Wednesday, it can be any day of the week. And this is how it goes. The Sabbath is always, I want y'all to pay attention to this. The Sabbath is always, so on the first day, that's not a Sabbath. That's why they got that blue. They call that a transitional day. Meaning it's not a Sabbath, it's just the transition of the Sabbath. Then after that, it's the 8th, the 15th, the 22nd, the 29th of every month. The dates of the Sabbath never change for people that do Lunar Sabbath. Now, just explaining that, do that make sense? It don't, just explain it don't make sense. How is the Sabbath changing? It could be Sunday one month, the next month is Tuesday, the next month is Friday. It changes every month. This is the Lunar Sabbath doctrine that goes against the word. So if you really never heard that, these type of things will catch you off guard. Like if y'all just hearing this now, how would you break that down? How would you be like, that don't, you know it don't make sense, but how would you kill it? So that's what the Casting Down Imagination series is about. Oh yeah, so y'all can see it too. That's it, that's what it looks like right there. So their Sabbath is the 8th, the 15th, the 22nd, and the 29th of every month. So the Sabbath, so the first thing you got to show is the Sabbath is a 7-day cycle. It can't be 7 days this week and then the next week it's a 9-day cycle. Then the next month it's an 8-day cycle. It's a 7-day cycle, period. So let's get there. Let's start off with that. Go to Exodus chapter 20. I'm going to keep that up because this is important. Go to Exodus chapter 20. Let's read verse 8.
Exodus chapter 20 and verse 8. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work.
So it's 6 days. This is a cycle. You got 6 days to do your work, go ahead.
6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gate.
So this is a 7-day cycle. 6 days you do your work, 7-day rest. It's not, it don't never turn to 7 days do all your work, then on an 8-day rest. It will never go like that. This is something that the Lunar Sabbath goes against the knowledge of God. Because the knowledge of God say what? 6 days work, 7 days work rest. There's no, it don't say nothing about a transitional Sabbath, no transitional days. Now you got 8 days to do your work, and on the 9th day you no. Now you added to the scriptures. Hold this spot, go to Sirach 33. Go to Sirach 33 and verse 7.
Sirach chapter 33 and verse 7. Why doth one day excel another, when as all the light of every day in the year is of the sun?
Jump to verse 9.
Verse 9. Some of them hath he made high days, and hallowed them, and some of them hath he made ordinary days.
So he said the Most High made high days and he hallowed them. Hallowed means he blessed them. So if God, what day did God bless? The 7th day. Go back to Exodus 20. It's not the 7th day, then sometimes the 9th day, then sometimes the 8th day. The 7th day he blessed. Meaning it's a 7-day cycle. It's not a 7-day cycle this month, and then the transition into the next month, it's an 8-day cycle to get that first set. No. Read verse 11.
Exodus chapter 20 and verse 11. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea and all that in them is, and rested the 7th day.
He rested the 7th day. Go ahead.
Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it.
So he blessed the 7th day and hallowed it. Meaning the 8th day is ordinary days. That's what we read in Sirach 33. Some days are ordinary, some days he hallowed them. You can't, the moon don't determine what day he hallowed as when it comes to the weekly Sabbath. It doesn't go like that. Let's get some more. Go to Genesis chapter 2. Read verse 3.
Genesis chapter 2 and verse 3. And God blessed the 7th day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which God created and made.
So that proves that in Exodus 20 and 11 it said he blessed the Sabbath day. In Genesis it said he blessed the 7th day. Because the 7th day and the Sabbath day is the same. It never changes. Meaning it's a 7-day cycle. So the Sabbath, the week is a 7-day cycle. The month is a 30-day cycle. Go to Sirach 43. So the month is a 30-day cycle. Sirach 43 and 7.
Sirach chapter 43 and verse 7. From the moon is the sign of feast, a light that decreaseth in her perfection. The month is called after her name.
So the month, the word month comes from the word moon. Go ahead.
Increasing wonderfully in her changing, being an instrument of the armies above, shining in the firmament of heaven.
So let's prove. So we see that the moon goes with the month. The moon goes with the month. Moon doesn't go with week. I want y'all to understand that. The moon doesn't go with week. The moon goes with the month. So how can you use the moon to determine a weekly thing? The month is a 30-day cycle. A week is a 7-day cycle. It will never line up. It's 30 days in a month. Let's prove that. Go to Genesis chapter 7. Let's prove that it's 30 days in a month. Start at 11.
Genesis chapter 7 and verse 11.
This is the scripture y'all used to prove how many days is in a month.
In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the second month, the 17th day of the month.
So it's take that down, that's a note. Note that. The second month, the 17th day of the second month. Go ahead.
The same day were all the fountains of the great deep broken up, and the windows of heaven were open.
And what happened?
And the rain was upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights.
So this talking about Noah when the Most High destroyed the earth with the flood. He said, when did the flood start? The 17th day of the second month. That's when it started raining for 40 days and 40 nights. Go ahead.
And the self same day entered Noah and Shem and Ham and Japheth, the sons of Noah, and Noah's wife, and the 3 wives of his sons with them into the ark.
So that's when it started to rain. They got into the ark because the Most High was about to flood the earth. This was the 17th day of the second month. Jump over to chapter 8, read verse 1.
Genesis chapter 8 and verse 1. And God remembered Noah and every living thing and all the cattle that was with him in the ark. And God made a wind to pass over the earth, and the waters as waged.
So they in the ark, verse 2.
The fountains also of the deep and the windows of heaven were stopped, and the rain from heaven was restrained.
So now it stopped raining. The heavens, and it stopped. The heavens closed up and it stopped raining. Verse 3.
And the waters returned from the earth continually, and after the end of the 150 days, the waters were abated.
So it say so it rained for 40 days and 40 nights. And after 150 days, the waters were abated, meaning the waters decreased. The water went down. It said it was 150 days. Verse 4.
And the ark rested in the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month, upon the mountain of Azariah.
Verse 5.
And the waters decreased continually until the 10th month. In the 10th month, on the first day of the month, were the tops of the mountain seen.
So it decreased from the 17th day of the 7th month. So it said it was 150 days from the 17th day of the second month to the 17th day of the 7th month. That's 5 months. It was 150 days in those 5 months. You do 150 days divided by 5 is 30 days a month. It's an average of 30 days per month. 30 days per month. You just got to read the scriptures and find that. So that proves that from the 17th day of the second month, it said it was 150 days to the 17th day of the 7th month. You do 150 divided by 5, it's 30 days. Simple math. Simple math, right? So 7 days, if you do 4 weeks, that's 28 days. So you got 2 extra days. What do you do with those? If the month, the new moon determines the Sabbath. You go out, that's why it's always different. That's why it's Sunday one day, Saturday 1 month, Tuesday 1 month. Because those 2 days always switch it. So that don't make sense. So now we just proved that the month is a 30-day cycle. The week is a 7-day cycle. Let's prove that. Go to Matthew 28. Let's prove that the week is a 7-day cycle. Matthew 28 verse 1.
Matthew chapter 28 and verse 1. In the end of the Sabbath,
In the end of the Sabbath, which is the 7th day of the week, go ahead.
it began to dawn toward the first day of the week.
You see that? So now the week is a 7-day cycle. The Sabbath is a 7th day, and it dawned towards the first day, meaning the week is a 7-day cycle. The month is a 30-day cycle. Go to Exodus 16. Now let's prove where some confusion come in at. Let's say the Sabbath changed. It wasn't a consistently 7-day cycle, right? Because that's what the Lunar Sabbath is. The Lunar Sabbath means that it's not a consistent 7-day cycle. Let's say the Sabbath is not a consistent 7-day cycle. Let's see if this makes sense. Exodus 16, start at 21.
Exodus chapter 16, verse 21. And they gathered it every morning, every man according to his eating. And when the sun waxed hot, it melted. And
so this is talking about the quails and the manna. Remember, this is the scripture that shows that we can't cook on the Sabbath. Y'all familiar with this? Y'all should be familiar with this. This is the scripture that shows we can't cook on the Sabbath. So it said it was raining down quails. Well, let's read it. Go ahead.
And it came to pass that on the 6th day they gathered twice as much bread, two omers for one man, and all the rulers of the congregation came and told Moses.
So on the 6th day, they was gathering 2 omers and twice as much bread. Why? Because the next day was the Sabbath. They wasn't able to gather it on the Sabbath. So on the 6th day, they had to gather 2. Verse 23.
And he said unto them, This is that which the Lord hath said. Tomorrow is the rest of the holy Sabbath unto the Lord. Bake that which ye will bake today, and seed that ye will seed, and that which remain over laid up for you to be kept until the morning.
So that shows that we can't cook on the Sabbath. Go ahead, verse 24.
And they laid it up until the morning, as Moses bade, and it did not stink, neither was there any worm therein.
Verse 25.
And Moses said, Eat that today, for today is a Sabbath unto the Lord. Today ye shall not find it in the field.
Meaning y'all not going to find the bread or the omers in the field today. Meaning on the 7th day, God didn't rain down manna and quails. On the 7th day. Go ahead.
6 days ye shall gather it.
So 6 days you get to gather your omers and your quails. Go ahead.
But on the 7th day, which is the Sabbath, in it there shall be none.
So in the 7th day, there ain't gonna be no quails. So what if it's a new moon? What if it's a transitional day? What, do they just not eat for a day? Or do they gather quails for 8 days, and then on the 9th day, he don't rain down manna? No, it was a 7-day cycle. That's how they knew when the Sabbath was there. When they had to gather twice as much. What they go gather twice as much on the 6th day, but the Sabbath go change in 2 days. And it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. What he go rain? They go gather twice, and it's not gonna rain none on the 7th day. But that's not the Sabbath no more, because the new moon is tomorrow. Like it doesn't make sense. It's always a 7-day cycle. The 7-day cycle never changes. The lunar Sabbath makes no sense. Read 26 again.
Verse 26. 6 days ye shall gather it, but on the 7th day, which is the Sabbath, in it there shall be none.
It says you got 6 days to gather your omers and quails. On the 6th day, gather twice as much. Because on the 7th day, it ain't going to be none out there. Verse 27.
And it came to pass that there went out some of the people on the 7th day for to gather, and they found none.
Go ahead.
And the Lord said unto Moses, How long refuse ye to keep my commandments and my laws?
Go ahead.
See, for that the Lord has given you the Sabbath. Therefore he giveth you on the 6th day the bread of 2 days.
You see that on the 6th day he gave the bread of 2 days. Why would he give the bread of 2 days every 6th day if it was gonna change? Go ahead.
Abide ye every man in his place. Let no man go out of his place on the 7th day.
Go ahead.
So the people rested on the 7th day.
So that wouldn't make sense to that lunar Sabbath. It will make absolutely no sense.